Hill is a longtime master skilled business analyst that transitioned to a highly desired product owner after becoming a certified product owner on November 2020. Her experience has over a 30-year backing of successful implementations at such organizations as Staples, TJX Companies, Humana Insurance, SeaWorld Entertainment, Bank of America, Startup Engines, and she is now a full-time senior product consultant at Agile Thought, supporting St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital's HRIS area during these trying times. Tina's passion to advocate, share the knowledge, and help lift others drives her to be here today. Take it away, Tina.
I'm ready to cry. This sure was a long journey, y'all, to get to where I am today. And let's see if I can help everybody kind of see the light a little bit and be a little honest. So I don't have a lot of rules in my life, but I do have expectations. And many people say meeting the expectations I have are harder than following the rules. And I said, good, now you're getting it. So just have fun, right? Write some questions, things like that. You know, anything that you're thinking about, jot it down. But we want to always try to be high level, right? The more granular you are, the more trouble you get into. But let me start to tell you, I want to share something. This is why I'm really here today, because Paul Crosby and Jennifer Batten, I met these people in Boston many years ago with Bob. And this is what Bob said. He told me I'm a badass, which he's right. I am still. And just want to share that with everybody, that he really did a big contribution in our career and in our craft. And he's very much missed. Okay, so here's where I served. I actually started as a member in North Florida. I lived in Saratoga, New York, and moved down to Jacksonville, Florida before there were the Jaguars. And it certainly was a culture shock. Serving at Humana Insurance at that time, I was able to join the brand new IIBA. And another dear friend of ours from IIBA, Julian Sammy, used to call me Tina from Florida when the very first Lunch and Learns happened. And then when Tina wound up in Massachusetts, he said, is this the same Tina? It says Tina from Massachusetts. I go, it is the same. And such, I started doing stuff with the oldest IIBA chapter in the country, and that is the Greater Boston. It is a well-oiled machine. And anytime any of your chapters or any of you folks need any kind of direction, I would always reach out to those guys. They certainly got their act together for sure, as it comes with orders of our articleization, things like that. It was just a great experience. My role was to bring more people in the chapter, bring them in, and how can we take the people we have, and everyone should be involved, and how can we get everyone involved and help lift their career, and so on and so forth. And such as Julian and them guys said, hey, Tina, do you want to help us reshape the BABIC? I said, yes, because I failed the CBAP miserably 3 times. And why is that? Is it because I was answering the questions according to how it's been successful in application, or was I answering the questions to the book? It was the first part. So I said, I'm not going to be part of the problem. It's time to be part of the solution. So you can see my name. I was one of the only ones with no letters after her name, and everyone wanted me to get letters after my name. So I'm starting. I've been a guest over at the Central Florida IIBA, the South Florida one, and I just recently did this presentation all up north and through Kentucky. I have acquired my 4-year integrated business degree through the University of Central Florida. It is one of 5 in the nation that actually has an undergrad MBA as similar to our craft as possible. I am working on my ACSPO actually next week, and it will be one of the first ones in Agile Thought that will have that accreditation, and I'm hoping to gain some more skill set to spread into our realm of responsibility. And yes, this is what I do now. I am serving at St. Jude, and it is a pleasure. They are a family, and I love it to death. Thank you for anyone who helps contribute to their great cause. And it makes you feel so wonderful that you are the one that's able to push a special surgeon in, and here comes my tears, right? To get that surgeon in through the door, compliance wise, to help a baby or a kid, right? And the parents. So let's think about roadmap. You hear all the time in Agile, roadmap. All it is what's the plan, right? How are we going to get to where we're going to go? The best way to try to transition yourself is to understand what is your value. Is it your time management? Is it your cost effectiveness? Is it the productivity? Is it the processes? Is it that you can define things in 5 words or less so no one gets confused? You know, what is that value that you have, right? What is the goal of the project or the product or the service, right? The project could be a project of the product, but it also could be a project to fix the SOPs that are all goofy, right? So what is that goal? And how are you going to support that vision, right? These are the kinds of places you have to think about your path. I added K because I never stopped learning. You know, many people don't like to say their age. I'm never afraid. I feel like I'm a survivor. I'll be 53 years old this year. Yay, I made it. And I never stopped learning. You have to, because our world is changing. Our trends are changing. People say technology is changing. To me, it's just shorthand of how we used to code, right? How we used to do lines and lines of code. They can do it very small now, and things can be called out different. Right? And all those kinds of things, we have to constantly see things and learn. Okay, so let's talk about valuing you. So as a BA, right, whatever skills that you have to get those requirements or how to define, those are old time skills, right? The fishbone that we used to do to problem solve. It's a great tool. No one uses it really anymore. Is doing a SWOT analysis. Goodness, they're teaching that in high school probably about 6 years ago to a bunch of kids. It's like, I don't understand, because adults can't even do this, right? What about the other type of things besides the SWOT? What about, thinking about all the other impacts, the environmental kind of things, stuff like that. What about like attention to detail? You have to have those requirements. Right? You have to know how to compartmentalize, organize, and all those kinds of things when you're handling requirements. But when you're thinking about transitioning to a product owner or to support the product owner, right? You got to learn a little bit more about what is a true backlog. What is this sprint everyone's talking about, and what are these events? So the backlog, it's challenging too. It's the same way in your requirements, especially as a business analyst. When you're not a full-time business analyst, or you're a consultant, or whichever role you are, if you're someone who goes in and out of different clients, you have to, reading other people's requirements can get a little on your nerves. Who are you writing this for? Because I don't even know what you're saying. Or how is somebody else going to understand what you're saying, right? A backlog is supposed to help resolve a lot of those ambiguity points. Like I'm talking about these requirements. We used to even be brilliant enough to say, here's the business requirement and here's how we're going to make it happen, right? It's detailed. If one thing changes, you got to go back in and change everything. You have to talk about all the ins and outs, and then it depends who your project manager is, or who's ingesting these requirements. Not digesting, but just ingesting. When they're ingesting them, what is their expectation? What is it that they're looking for? And why is it they're looking for that? And why do we really need to define all these things? I'm really confused here, right? How are we going to get this to market fast? And going to market isn't always just the product. Right? It could be, like I said, the service. It could be the internet. It could be anything. Okay. So I ran my mouth quite a bit. Let me see if I can drive the concept a little homer. So let me show you something that came in the mail to me. And any of you that ever worked in insurance will laugh at this. So here we are in February, right? It's a couple months ago. I had to ask for a refund from a specialist because I went into the specialist and the specialist decided they were going to charge me my deductible up front. Well, when I told the person up front a deductible is the amount of money to be satisfied before benefits begin, she had no idea what I was talking about. Well, this says Medicare's deductible. I don't have Medicare. I have a commercial plan. They still wouldn't listen. They wouldn't let me out the door until I paid them Medicare's deductible, right? So that's the scenario. This is what I got back in the mail. I'm thinking, really? It's still on paper? Okay, then. So which detail does anyone think needs a change? Feel free to either yell it out because I can't watch the chat while I'm asking the question. What detail do you think giving this back or them doing something really needs a change here?
What's the date?
The date was, this past February.
Well, no, but is it the date of service or the date of the refund?
There you go. So there's a detail that needs a change. What else? Nobody else?
Seems to me they need to review their entire process for bringing people through their front door and providing services.
And why is that?
They don't seem to understand what a deductible is and how it
Or-
applies to services.
Or potentially they're taking your money and making money off your money with some justified parameters that allow them to do so. Potentially, right? You could say it that way when they're trying to me, what are you stealing my money for? I already told you that's not what I owe you, right? I agree with that. I agree with that. And like you mentioned, that's a potential for a change. What would be another reason for the change that you see on here? How do they take our money when we go to the doctor? Do they really take cash? They kind of want everything electronic, don't they? They want us to even check in at the doctor's office as if I'm checking into Disney World before my room is ready. Now I got to check in before I go to the doctor's online. I thought that's what I walk up to the office for, right? So this office does that. But what? So they do some things electronically, and this seems to still be manual on paper. Kind of weird, right? If they make these changes, how do you guys think they'd be able to maintain the change? I mean, it's a doctor's office. Would they be able to hire a systems analyst to sit there and monitor these changes when things occur? How would they know that there's going to be a change coming in? What do you think that they would have to do? Does anybody have any ideas?
They'd probably have to analyze everything and figure out what they're currently doing and what they want it to be.
Maybe. Let's talk about what a backlog is, though, the difference, right? Because like you said, you got to take a look at the whole picture, right? Why are they still doing this on paper? Because this is the way things have been done for many, many, many years. When I started working in offices, people were smoking at their desks, right? So I've kind of come through this path to see what has happened in operations, right? And it's interesting when you look at it's like, what do they only get details for Medicare. They sure enough know if I have insurance when I walk in the door. So why can't they get the pre-estimated amount? That means they overcharged their contractual allowances. And there's a lot of infractions on this. By them sending this paper refund, they think that's covering them. Well, for me, it covered me, but it really doesn't cover them. And they have risks all over them. So when you transition from doing detailed requirements like that, and you transition to do it in a backlog, you think about not the detail, but what's the mini goal we're trying to do here? What in that mini goal, is it just a function, or are there features to this function? You know, is it just saving, or is it saving as an Excel sheet? That would be a feature, right? You think about the goals in 3 ways. How are you going to get the goals done? Someone may say we have to do this task. And you're like, this task is going to take me 2 weeks to do. So that needs to be broken down more. You look at someone's user story. If it's going to take you half of whatever the time is to get the story done, you better break it down more, right? So it's almost like a way to use sticky notes. That's how I see it. I use it just like sticky notes, virtual sticky notes. So in that example, right, we would have patient responsibility. That's a goal. We would have, are they Medicare or are they other? Right? So when you take about your backlog and you kind of know what your backlog is going to be, now how are we going to fit it in this schedule, right? So sometimes these scrum masters, just like project managers, will be like, all right, we're going to put patient responsibility in sprint 1. And we'll put the other in sprint 3, because, we don't even know what they have. And we have to go investigate all that. And you take a look and you're like, well, maybe we can fit the Medicare piece in sprint 1 and somewhat in sprint 2, because we can get tapes from the government for that. We can't do the other in sprint 3. That's not happening, but we can start thinking about it in sprint 2, because we're going to finish Medicare a little bit faster because we already have the details. And that's how they move things around. And it changes all the time, because sometimes the expectation that's being held by us business analysts is just unrealistic. And it takes a very strong person to say that, how's this going to happen? Because you can't get there unless you get here, but this is going to be done a lot faster. So it's all about being flexible, right? Versus as the BA, you're managing all the and more as the product owner, you're able to talk about at a high level perspective where you'd like to see it. When we're ready to go to market, I've got to have at least BBB. Then how can I get these in here? Okay, well, we can do this. And then you change everything around. So that's kind of a little bit of a difference. And then in the events, again, we always talk about these unrealistic expectations. I'll say it every day, all day long, if I can, because we need to always define what's really can be done versus whatever a timeline defines. It's a give and take. It's just the truth. What are those critical needs to run the business? That always has to be the priority, or why are we even doing what we're doing? Refining those backlogs, getting everybody engaged, making sure it's smaller, set yourself up for success, not failure. Every single sprint and every single day is not critical, right? What is that task focus? And the transparency is right. Don't tell your team, don't be part of your team and say it's blue and then go back and go, yeah, I just told them it's blue. It's really red because I don't even know how to get it to blue. That's not good. We're in this together. Keeping up in those demos and reviews. See, it's kind of the same kind of stuff you do as a BA. And that's why BAs are always successful product owners, because we know what has to happen and what and how you're going to make it happen. But the transition, you have to be ready to tell Scrum Masters and coaches that this is my product and this is the way it's going. You really got to own your stuff. That's the biggest thing I can say. All right, so let me bring another checkpoint in. You're going to like this one, I hope. Did any of that make sense what I'm saying? Do you guys help?
We've got 3 thumbs up.
Perfect. As long as we got one, we're good. Okay.
Sounds great. Yes.
Cool. Excellent. I know it's so funny because, you know, this side of the country has never worked with me before, unless anyone worked at Humana, and those on the East Coast, they always laugh. Oh yeah, Tina will just tell you like it is, right? And it's just about being truthful. Okay. So this is an interesting thing that came to me. So let's take a look at this piece if everybody can see it. So Deerfield Beach is kind of near Hollywood. It's a little north. It's about 30 minutes north. It's before you get to the Guitar Hotel. And this came to my address in Orange Park, which is near Jacksonville, Florida. It looks like it's a coupon to what? What's the whole point of this? What did I get this for? What do you guys think Target wants me to do?
Come in and spend money.
Yeah, they want me to come in there and spend money, Chris. You're right about that, right? But there's a couple weird things. I see 2 things, and actually 3 things, and maybe a 4th thing that's wrong with this. Does anybody see what's wrong on this?
The going up to either the order pickup or drive up, you're not actually going into the store.
That's right. It's kind of an oxymoron. That's right. I saw that. A good eye. What else?
Jeff is saying no call to action.
Yeah, that's missing too. That's right. That's clear. No, look at the promo code. Who the heck's going to remember that? Right? And I don't even know. It says valid one-time use, exclusions apply. Okay, so for $5, you want me to read all this kind of stuff, right? Anything else anyone can say that's kind of strange about this? Because Christopher said it, the source that they want you to get in. What's the biggest problem on this? Clearly they must have rushed it. Let's see what we see in the chat. Okay, Marissa, take your mic off. I want you to tell me, why is it the biggest deal about it being only at Deerfield Beach? Oh, that's okay. Type it in. She doesn't have a microphone. Type it in. Why is that the biggest issue here? I'm gonna give you a second before I pull it up. I'll pull it up. That's right. Ready? You guys want to see how far it is? It's a 4.5-hour drive.
That's pretty funny.
Okay, so right, it is pretty funny. But the funniest part here is the high levelness everyone misses, right? Marissa got it. Everyone else was kind of granular, right? She had it right on the head. Marissa, are you a product owner? You are on your way, girl. You better get in contact with me. I'm going on ASCPO next week. So she's already ready. She's already thinking straight. You got to think high level.
But see,
What's
when
the
I look
goal?
at that, my nearest Target is in a different town than I am. So as the end consumer, I might know that that's my nearest one, even though it's not. If I'm not familiar with Florida geography, I would have no
Yeah,
reason
but
to
you're,
question
you're
it.
still familiar with Florida to know that at least in Orlando, Florida, Orlando is gigantic and there's probably a Target there, and Orlando isn't as far as Deerfield Beach.
But I have
So
no
I just
idea
knocked
if
that
Orange
out.
Park is a suburb of Orlando.
No, Orange Park's a suburb of Jacksonville, but I'm just saying, right? Even if you don't know, everybody has Google, right? Especially Target. Why would Target do that? That makes no sense to me, right? Understood where you're coming from. But this specific Target coupon was only for that store, because if you, and all the fine print, it said only available at that store. So very oxymoron on that. You like that one, huh, Victoria?
I thought that was funny.
Oh my God, it was so funny when I put this together. I was like, oh my God, I've got to use this. Okay, so here's the biggest deal of transitioning, right? Getting out of the details. And I mean, the details can be important. But you have those events instead. Everybody plans together, which is nice because that way they can't, no, Chris Smith, it wasn't not a new store. But good observation. I happened to have shopped at that store online when it was COVID and I had something delivered. So that's where they got the source. Not pretty good in that event. But, you know, planning and grooming and all that kind of stuff and learning. The good thing about product ownership is you are almost like a coach in a way. You really are. You are trying to bring everyone along. And everyone does this together. Like there's not a project manager that goes off by their own, and I don't even know how they come up with some of their dates, right? And then they come back to everybody and say, well, this is the way it goes because this is what this one said, and da 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 da, and so on and so forth. And that's a good thing about product ownership, right? Emily, let me go back to Emily's comment. Maybe it's less expensive for Target to send out the coupon shotgun. Now that's a granular thought process, because I used to support marketing for Staples, and trust me when I tell you, that's not how it works. And they know how to hit it on the get-go. To me, honestly, what probably happened with that from my years of experience, someone dropped a ball and somebody scrambled to get it out the door. That's what happened. For most likely. And the behaviors, right? You got to be very open-minded. I mean, I'm definitely open-minded to what Emily said. It's just from my experience, right? They're not going to do stuff like that. Target's having their own problems. We all know that. You know, and you got to be a collaborator, and you got to explore. You got to see how it works, or see who is doing it better, and is that really the important thing? And getting some marketing analytics, boy, wouldn't that be something that people would think about? And that's always a challenging question, right? When you ask people about it, you know, like, oh, we don't do that. Well, maybe we should. Doesn't cost much to get a license for Simply Analytics, right? Anyone that's going to college and your team has access to that, use it. It'll give you some insight, right? Here's the best slide I love, and it seems a lot of people like it too. When you're thinking granular, you're thinking about the why, the how, and all those details. But when you're high level, you more about what's the what and where. Let everybody else figure all that out. I'm just going to tell you what it is and where I want it. Now, what you can deliver is something different. You know, that's for them to tell me what it is they can deliver, what can be constructed, how long will it take, what are those impediments, what's a bother, you know, what's in the way. And then listening to them, because they're the experts. I'm not a developer, and I certainly don't want to go out there and tell people how to develop, but I do want to represent the product or the service in the best way possible and fight and advocate by telling the what and where. When I start fighting with details, oh, that can get crazy, because the way someone writes a detail is different than somebody else, and how somebody absorbs that detail is always something different. Where's the context? Where's the diagram? Now all of a sudden your document is what, 150 pages, right? So it's just thinking about it in that perspective. Okay, here's my last thing I found on that date. I actually subscribed to Entrepreneur, and look who was on it for Women's Month. They had Jessica Simpson on there. Okay, I love it when she said, what's your superpower and how do you future-proof? You know, they had all these articles in there and how she's unstoppable. And it's about how to remain in the know. Okay, you got to read. You got to look out there, right? I know our days are crazy. Trust me, I handle 2 desktops and 3-4 systems, and everyone at my company, everybody out in IIBA world, people out in Scrum world, LinkedIn, I don't know, everywhere. I'm going crazy too. But I try to take a look at what's on the headlines, at least, right? Or like, you know, I don't know. You just have to kind of keep up with what's going on, especially in your industry. And then you can bring those thoughts back to other people that are experts, and they'll give you some ideas, right? LinkedIn's a great tool. I've been on it since it's almost new. So, and then spread the vision like I'm spreading today, right? Help others get there. People are creatures of habit. And I'll tell you a little story about that. I did some service at Prince's house in 2000, and don't get me to lie, 13 or 14, around there. And Prince's house is a very old party thing. They were out before Pampered Chef, right? And it's beautiful crystal and all this kind of stuff my grandmother used to get and all that. So they were changing from getting off of paper orders to a more systematic platform, right? So one day the IT director was speaking and telling people that they have to be welcome to change, right? And all this kind of stuff and whatever. And it could very well be because a lot of my career when I started out on the floor. So my passion is always with the users, and I'll fight for the users to my death. So, you know, the users always, no matter where I work, we always kind of get along, and they're like, oh my God, that guy's, you know, running his mouth again and this. I go, well, tell me this. So the person starts telling me, I become close with the person. I now want to advocate because she hustles and she busts her ass all day, right? Pardon my French, right? So I said, I'll fix him. I show up to work early. There was no assigned parking. I decide to park my vehicle there. No one knows my vehicle. I'm a contractor, right? He comes in the door getting all upset. Someone's parked in a spot, and I'm doing everything not to say nothing. That's awful, I said. Is there any more parking? Yeah, but I parked in that space, and then he's going on. He was so upset. By lunchtime, I said, I gotta he's having an anxiety attack in there. I said, I just want to let you know that was my car. I parked it there to show you how you're expecting your fleet to change, and you can't even handle parking in another spot. And he said, touche, Tina Underhill, touche. I said, you know what? I'll move my car so you can have your spot back, okay? So it's a good story of how we can show people and how we can spread that, right? And grow your product and service. There's always something else coming. There's always a better way to do things. I mean, look at Pringles. When I was a kid, it was just Pringles. Now you can get all sorts of flavored Pringles, right? So how do you grow that? Same thing with your service, right? So you have different banks, that are still brick and mortar. You have some that are just totally online. How are you going to grow that online experience so they don't leave to go back to the brick and mortar? Oh, that's easy. No fee if you have a low balance, right? How do you do that? And keep sharing that process. It's so important because we can't get there alone. I mean, I didn't get there alone, and I don't want you to get there alone. It's not fun. It's definitely not a fun place to be. So I know that Watermark Learning, and I love Richard and Elizabeth. They love me, the Larkins. I'm little Tina to them. But this is who has certified me, and he's given you guys a 10% code if you guys want to go through certified Scrum training in this way. This is who taught me. Okay, just want to let you know it's out there for you. And that's really all I kind of have, just think about, what do you have to start doing? What do we need to keep doing? And what do we got to stop doing? That's the most important part. And I hope this has been helpful for you guys.
This has been nice.
Cool. This is
we
how I
have any-
always talk.
Do we have any questions?
Thoughts, comments, concerns, questions on your projects? You want some direction? We got time.
We
got me for 20
do.
minutes.
Exactly.
And that's rare for people. Boy, it's like crickets. What about thoughts about what I said? Does it make anyone think things a little differently? Does it feel like we're throwing the way we used to do things away and do it different? Does it feel welcoming? Does it feel like a breath of fresh air? You don't have to write 15 million things every day.
When you're doing the roadmap
No, I don't, Christy. And the reason is because it depends on how big your product is, right? And what the roadmap is. BAs are always going to be in need as far as I am concerned. But the title and the role of what a business analyst does is very different, right? There are some people that are called BAs and they're testers. And why are they called that? And it's also some product owners never had the opportunity to be a business analyst. Some product owners have no idea how to ask the right questions. And you have to know how to ask those right questions. But good product owners already have the vision where those questions won't exist. So it's kind of like half a dozen eggs in one basket, half in another. It depends on what you like to do. For me, in my role, I am a BA, a product owner, a scrum master, and a coach all into one. How do you get over letting go of the details because you think high level? It's like this. Think like this. When you say to a stakeholder, do you like cheese? And all of a sudden they're telling me they like Swiss, they don't like Limburger. Okay, I don't care right now. Those are parking lot things, right? Have you guys know about the parking lot? Yes? No?
Explain
Maybe?
the parking lot.
So the parking lot is when you're in an elicitation session and you're asking questions and someone's a squirrel and they're saying all these other things that may be related. They clearly have passion. You don't want to negate what they're saying and blow them off, because our job as a BA is to get the buy-in, right? To get the trust. So you have a sheet of paper and it just up or a virtual, whatever you're using, and you write down all their thoughts. So at the end of your session, you say, okay, So we get this and we have all these items. I need to go back and identify how they impact these changes, or if they do, and make sure we can take them in consideration. We've got some research to do, right? That's how we say it in the BA world. In the product owner world, it's a spike because we have no idea. It's a spike in the thought process. We have to go investigate some things. So does that clarify that a little bit?
I think so. I have one here, Rob, to add to Vicky's question. How do we encourage disconnecting the emotional ties to ownership of a product?
Oh, Lord. So, okay. So you have to remember there are facts about different, and I don't want to come across the wrong way. Okay. Women are natural multitaskers. That's a fact. It's some kind of study, because I was like, why is it I can do 15 million things and my guy sits next to me can barely do one at the same time? So that's what I was told, right? And that's where I got some study from. The emotional piece is always the biggest part in change, because people neglect to think of the logical piece for the change and the physical piece for the change. So if they're so emotional and passionate, there's got to be a serious reason. Either this person has a lot invested in this, and that's really the key, or it could very well be this person's in deep doo-doo, and if this doesn't work right, they're out of a job, right? It could be one or the other. So you kind of have to think about, Rob, what's really behind the emotion? Right? And what are those failures that they're expecting, which is causing the emotion and the anxiety? So there's the difference, right? Are they, you know what I'm saying? So you kind of got to put your little, what can I do to help hat on? Like, what's going on? You got to show people you care. That's number one. And Victoria, we have another presentation, how to say no with value, and it talks a lot about this stuff. So let Paul then know if you guys want us to share that with you guys too. We'll be happy to do that. What skills that make a product owner successful? Well, the skills that have made me a product owner successful is that I have passion for what I believe in. And the organization is huge. Being able to see high level is huge. Being able to know really what the goals are is huge. When you let go of how you're going to get to the goals, that's when the light bulbs really start coming on and it becomes second nature, right? And then you're going to start saying to your buddies and pals and go, dude, you're just too granular for me today. Like, it's just you're way in the weeds. We got to lift it up. We got to make sure we have a clear path. That's when you can start drilling down. It's the same thing. Think about like configuration. Right? When you configure something, you got to know what the buckets are to start with. Like in insurance, you got major, med, and basic. That's how it used to work, right? And some things come out of the basic bucket and some things come out of the major med, and the major med has all these other little tributaries and so on, but they start with the two buckets. And then you drill down. It's the same way. Try to stay, what are your high buckets? Whenever I'm in a process, this might help you, Christy. Whenever I'm in a process, I always think of it in 4 parts. What is compliance? What needs to be mapped? What is clogging the process? And what is constraining the process? When you can start with these 4 legs, epics, theme, whatever you want to call them, when you start with these 4, you can start taking your problems and organizing them in the buckets. Think about it like that. Does that help? I clearly can talk about this all day, so.
Yes.
I've been around. What can I tell
Christy
you?
said yes.
How do you successfully transition product owner? Wait a minute, let me read this right. How to do successful transition product owner with passionate BAs that want to get their points noted. If a BA has so much passion, they want their points noted, I'm already confused because there's one word that defines what a business analyst does. Victoria, do you know what that one word would be?
Say that again.
There's one word that a business analyst does. One word. It's defined.
Needs.
Define.
Okay.
We define in whatever shape and form that is. If a BA is biting their tongue so it bleeds because they've got to get a point across, is the point relevant to the goal? What is the purpose of the point? And why are they're just defining? Is it something that they forgot to define before that's important? They want to make sure they have time? I don't know. There's lots of questions I have with that, Nicole. I'm sorry if that doesn't answer, but there seems to be an underlying condition. That's probably the nicest way I can say it. Yeah, probably. So she knows already. That means someone is paranoid about something, clearly, or they're afraid for their job or whatever it is. I mean, that's the thing. That's always going on. Robots are going to take us over. Really? Yeah. Okay. I doubt it. I mean, they need us to do all this stuff. What about any other problems? I love these kinds of questions. This is great. It's quiet.
Do we have any
It's
more
on.
questions?
Service ownership. What does that mean? I actually own a service and I call it, I'm product owner to HRIS for non-payroll. And I've taken a very intricate SOP, mapped it and through an ADO board. Are you impressed?
If I knew what you were saying, probably.
ADO is Azure, right? So it's like Jira.
Azure Active Directory. Okay.
Yeah. Well, AD is the directory. ADO is DevOps. Okay, it runs just like Jira. The only difference is because it's connected to that infrastructure, right? Yeah, you get more of the buckets, more of the pieces of the puzzle that come in.
I got you now. I just never heard of it referred to as ADO, but now I'm going to start using it everywhere I go to sound cool.
Yeah, there you go. See, it's all about sounding cool, especially because last Thursday I went and saw 3 Days Grace. How about that?
No, it's just service ownership. My organization isn't working by product; it's working by service. So we're starting to implement service ownership right now, and I'm been named service owner for collaboration and video conferencing rooms for the organization. So it's there's a great number of products underneath that and a lot of different lines to different teams to support, especially like Microsoft products.
Yeah.
And a lot of intertwining of services and functional support there. So I'm just a bit overwhelmed at the moment.
Yeah, it sounds like it, right? It really sounds like it. Sounds like you're in an infrastructure kind of situation, right?
Sort of.
Let me give you an idea. I did this project at this company that was, they do analytics for credit unions, I guess, right? To help them. I have no idea, right? My job was to help get Power BI for them to use it to digest the data, ingest the data, right? And do whatever with the data. And I knew nothing about Azure. I'm like, oh, right? I don't know anything about this. All of a sudden, I'm the BA for some kind of massive smart engineers and architects and all this. And you want to talk about feeling overwhelmed. I was like, I don't know. And I just started asking them questions. I'm like, well, where's the SOW for this? And they go, what do you mean? I'm like, because there's like holes all over the place. And just by me dissecting everything, I found like 21 items of scope creep and nobody else could see it.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So,
Oh, yeah.
so that's it. That's why you're in that role, because you have attention to detail, right?
Yeah, sometimes.
You do, or you wouldn't be
Yeah,
listening
yeah,
and you wouldn't
yeah, I
be
know.
corresponding. So Jeff, anytime when you're not sure of some things to do, if you don't have do you have a mentor and a coach?
Those are unavailable in my organization at the moment.
Well, you don't need someone in your organization, baby. You just have to go ahead and ping me. Go ahead. I'll be more than happy to do that for you. No, really, for real. I've had a lot of people mentor me. Actually, you wouldn't believe who mentored me. The father of business rules did. And all these people mentored me. Like, I met Hayden Thomas and I don't know, all these, the Larkins, I was just some little kid. I was just like, I don't know. I was new. I was like in my 20s. I was like, oh, how does this work? And I was just drinking the Kool-Aid from everybody. Right. And so, I'm always happy to pass that back. We got to do it together.
Another question. What do you think the best way is for POs and BAs to interact, the different roles?
First off, they need to go out and have an adult beverage together and play nice in the sandbox, because I say that because the product owners need BAs. The product owners are high level, BAs are can be granular, right? So when the PO says, I need to make sure this pool has a lattice front so the swimmer doesn't get seen by the street, and I need to make sure that if the pool leaks, there's somewhere for the water to go, the BA is the one going to say, okay, what's the irrigation and who would I need to talk to and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's the best way. They need to be partners. That's how I found out what a product owner was when I was hoteling at Staples. It was a 6-month contract, Victoria, and I was there for 15 months. I must have been doing something right, and learned about product ownership when Staples was changing from that was easy to make more happen. And that was interesting to watch, right? That's when Staples stopped. They started to sell all sorts of stuff. They were like one of the first big e-com. And their vision a long time ago was to be, like the second Amazon, right? Sadly, we all know what happened at Staples, right? They're no longer a public company. They're private. Who knows what's going on there now? But that was their vision.